Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is alt day on this fine Wednesday. What a difference a couple days makes. Big news today was US CPI coming in slightly under expectations at 3.3. My guess is it was actually like 3.34 or something. But the market loved it, which meant dollar down. Rate expectations also down sooner, although the Fed dot plot just came out and market wasn't too happy with pricing in one cut this year. The TLDR on all this stuff is we are so data dependent right now on every single monthly CPI print and jobs print. That's just how we're lined up in the market. So if we get an angry CPI next month or better than expected jobs print next month, we are going to be talking about the inverse of today, which is bearish dollar today, bullish risk. Dollar DXY back in the daily cloud, which is good for alts, good for crypto. 10-year yield way down as well, potentially working on an inverted cup and handle. So you just have to keep your eye on the prize, which is what is your viewpoint on rates and where we're headed. Hopefully it's not too doomer. Hopefully it's not too optimistic. But from my vantage point, we're certainly headed in the right direction on getting closer to rates coming down eventually, right? Like, I think that's about as specific as anybody can say. Another reason this is important is because of the inverse correlations we have with the 10-year yield. This is the US 10-year yield versus BTC, and it has the highest negative correlation. This is the, what is it, the 30-day, it looks like 30-day correlation, rolling, the highest negative 30-day rolling correlation it's had in a long time, approaching 2017 levels of inverse correlation here. So what we want to see is 10-year yield going down, and that's what we're getting, right? We also have Bitcoin correlations with tech, with QQQ, 30-day rolling, very, very high. This is NDX, but so as goes the Mag 7, as goes Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, etc., so goes BTC. So you need to be rooting for those things right now, and you need to be rooting against strength in the US dollar, which I think everybody is by default anyway, if you're in crypto. That's good news. Looking at dominance, Bitcoin dominance remains high. It remains in the upper 50s. We're also not seeing the blue line there. We're not seeing a giant spike in US liquidity. So until we do, I don't think alts are the place to be. And it's almost a waste of time to even overtrade alts right now. You know, I'll pick and choose maybe like 5 setups that I like in alts and trade those and be happy with what I get or don't get. But this just isn't the time broadly to expect some crazy mega return on things. Some of these charts still look very, very awful and will only start to look better once the conditions are set for alts to do better, and that's rates down, liquidity up. So we don't have that yet. You should not expect alts to do well broadly. Certain alts will do well, but when we look at the basket, when we look at the index, this is just inverse dominance essentially, but we're stripping out the stables here. The cloud is still telling you, and it has been telling you for months, this is just not the time for alts. The last halving, it took almost a year for alts to finally break out against Bitcoin. So we're still early, very early on that. The moment this flips, I will be the first one to say, hey, everybody watching, look at this chart. Look at how great alts are set up to do against Bitcoin. We're just not seeing that yet. And both sides, as I've said, don't really care. The Bitcoiners don't care because they're focused on Bitcoin. The altcoiners don't care because they're focused on the 5 alts that are doing well. So, you know, who's this analysis really for? I don't know. Maybe it's just for me, but still definitely not broadly alt time. Another great measure of alt appetite would be USDC issuance, which continues to look kind of flat and sad, which just speaks to the lack of DeFi appetite right now. There just isn't a lot of that when risk-free rates are high at 5%. And there kind of just isn't anybody here on the DeFi side. My fear with this real-world asset narrative is that it's not necessarily going to trickle down to bullish ETH prices, for example. You know, it's like, it's the Tether Omni argument all over again. Tether doing well, Tether continues to see basically continuous issuance. It's the world's dollar. I mean, it just is. It's the world's digital dollar, whereas USDC is not. Despite the high volatility, I'm still seeing a lot of people call for bearish things, which, yeah, like if the numbers were, 3.41 or slightly elevated on inflation, this chart would look a lot different, admittedly, but that's not what we got. So this is S&P futures and all-time highs today. Huge all-time high breakout. Prior to today, we were set up for a cup and handle. The cloud was set up for bullish continuation days and days and days, weeks before that. So we had the beautiful marriage of technicals and fundamentals today aiding in this breakout. So it's hard to be bearish crypto on the majors when S&P is breaking out. This is BTC. It broke down a lot. It retraced that a lot. Whatever, right? We're still essentially ranging. We're still essentially just slightly below 70. 72K is the big line in the sand. Whatever this ends up being doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter if there's no pattern here at all. As long as it holds above the cloud, the trend is telling me that bullish continuation is expected eventually. Not tomorrow, not 5 minutes from now, just eventually. Eventually, this should break out. And if we retest 72 for the 6th time and the 10th time and the 20th time, eventually that should lead to new all-time highs, and that measures to high 80s, low 90s. So if you're bullish alts, this is what you want to see. You want to see the majors looking like at least they have some sort of a bid. ETH pulling back to the daily key June. Cup and handle still in play, inverted head and shoulders still in play. All that is, again, it's kind of irrelevant. It's all the same type of move in that we see a close above 4,000 and we probably see a move to 5,000 shortly thereafter. So ETH still looks great to me. ETH BTC, however, does not. ETH BTC continues to look angry, bearish, ready to just retrace everything. This is the ETF approval candle that we're just slowly retracing day by day here. So thus far, any pop in ETH BTC has been a selling pop, a sellable pop, not a, oh my God, let's get excited, we're finally bullish pop. Okay. There just hasn't been any continued sustained strength on ETH BTC. Once it's above the cloud, the pitchfork, the 400-day moving average, then we can celebrate. We can pop the champagne. We can pop the ETH Maxi champagne. But until then, bearish or sideways is probably what we are going to see. Before I go any further here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with the link in the description of this video. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures, Inc., PBI, DBA, Kraken. And on Kraken, just perusing the volume here for the day. Bitcoin at the top, which is what we want to see. We don't want to see stablecoin volumes at the top. That's usually a negative for BTC. After that, it's Sol, ETH, FX, stablecoins, meme coins, Ripple for some reason. Again, I don't know why there's this much volume on Ripple every day. I just don't get it because it's done nothing for months. I don't understand, but somebody's trading Ripple pretty consistently every day. Link INJ breaking out in a big way. We'll look at that today. Meme coins slightly taking a backseat today on volumes, but still quite high. Anything in the million on these low to mid cap alts in this current environment. Probably a very good sign. But a lot of charts, kind of look like Sui in the altcoin land. Like, yes, we could see something like this, right? Some sort of inverted head and shoulders. So if you're bullish on this individual coin, you're obviously rooting for that. But I think where people get tripped up is they see that possibility and they get bullish immediately versus just giving it some time. Give this another week, give this another month, and I can be pretty sure where I know this is going to go. Right now, it certainly leans bearish, but if everything else pulls up, Sui will follow, most likely. Looking at some individual names here, BNB had the ascending triangle breakout, gave it all back, but held the diag, still above the daily cloud. So I'm still in the trade. Not something you want to see. Obviously, you don't want to see this straight up, straight down in 6 candles. Nice little Eiffel Tower. The reason I didn't want to immediately close this at any near-term target is really the possibility that this just leads to bullish continuation in price discovery. You know, it's not quite sitting at all-time highs, but it is very close, much like everything else on the majors side of things. Is this a cup and handle? Is this whatever pattern? Like, it doesn't really matter. But if I'm not on leverage, I like to stick around and see what happens, right? This may continue, it may not, but I like to give it the benefit of the doubt. Ton is another one that is leaning pretty bullish based on ascending triangle type of consolidation here, still above the daily cloud. Measures decently higher. I'm not sure what the actual all-time high is on Ton, but it's got to be coming close to that. Anytime you are knocking on horizontal resistance over and over and over and over, usually that's a very good sign that eventually that's going to break. So to see this with BTC, with ETH, with BNB, with whatever else, Ton, usually that means we have a heavy bullish bias, expect bullish continuation. For Solana, we'll go to the daily. Solana on the daily, it looks fine, doesn't look great. It moved a lot early on in the cycle already. So my guess is it needs a breather. It needs capital to rotate back to Sol that rotated out, or some sort of catalyst, or some sort of alt season, meme coin, something, right? It needs a reason. It doesn't look like it has a reason here. It's kind of lethargic. It looks more bullish than most alts. It just looks less bullish to me than BTC, ETH, BNB. So I think it needs some time. If we zoom out on the 2-day, the 2-day cloud still looks fine. You can see the breakout down here, post inverted head and shoulders consolidation. So if it can hold above this or crisscross on the TK lines, probably good to go. But in the near term, there's probably better things to trade than Solana, just because it's already made its moves. Sol ETH is another one I'm closely watching, just to see how this plays out with ETH unlock when the ETH ETFs finally start trading. I'm expecting ETH inflows to be weaker than ETH outflows, much like GBTC early on for the Bitcoin ETFs. So there's probably a rotation trade here down the line. And it's just something I'm continuously thinking about. If I really want to rotate into ETH from Sol or something like that, this is the chart I'd be watching. This still potentially looks like an ascending triangle. It's on the failure side. But when we're thinking about all of the fractals we've ever seen for XYZ chart pattern, I still think it's important to follow this and ask yourself, okay, how would I trade this? How am I trading this? What is my expectation here? Just because you're going to see this stuff over and over again, and it's good to have a game plan no matter what happens. INJ has broken out in a pretty big way. Admittedly, I don't really know what INJ is, nor do I really care. I do know that it is pretty volatile on any given day. For some reason, it is a highly traded coin. And that's what a lot of alts don't have on their side right now. They don't have this environment for positive volatility. They're just kind of forgotten about, just waiting for everything else to get bullish, right? They're waiting for everybody else to get to the party, whereas INJ is having its own party already. So this was an inverted head and shoulders breakout, a cloud edge-to-edge trade also on the daily. And this looks good for bullish continuation, bullish reversal on the daily time frame. Zooming way out on INJ, it's fun to just look at, hey, where's this been since the past 1 year, 2 years? What can you identify chart pattern wise, trend wise? Is what you've expected to happen happened, right? The more you get this repetition of just seeing like this ascending triangle or whatever, break down, break out, right? The more you see this type of thing over and over again, at least for me, it just helps to understand how to trade that in the future. So you've basically had Wyckoff accumulation to Wyckoff distribution in a matter of a couple months, right? And now we're back up here again with a bullish reversal pattern. So I don't know where it goes past the daily cloud, but for now, it looks pretty bullish. Then you have the opposite side of the coin, ADA, where a lot of these charts look like they wanted to try to make that triple bottom. And these admittedly may still do well, may eventually have a move higher, but on a relative value opportunity cost basis, it just doesn't make sense to me to be rooting for this stuff right now. It's going to be so much easier to just trade something else, wait for this to look better. And if you really want to, rotate into it after it's broken out of the daily cloud, or at least back into the daily cloud. Maybe there's a trade on this in, July from like 45 to 60 or something, but now is not the time. AVAX, same thing. This also has a mega head and shoulders risk. There's just not enough money to push these coins up right now. So AVAX still bearish. OP, Optimism, even more bearish than ADA and AVAX. Getting a bearish TK cross there on the daily. Bearish TK recross on the daily. It's just not the time. Like this of course could be the bottom for all this stuff. But based on trend metrics, it is not the time to play around with anything below the cloud. It just isn't. And then there's a lot of stuff. Near is one, Render is another. That set up for months, looked great, broke out, and then just faded into oblivion, right? And this kind of illustrates the point again that there just isn't a lot of people trading this stuff right now. There isn't a lot of money behind this stuff on the bid side. In October, November, December 2023, this thing would have shot to infinity, right? But we're talking about today, and there's not a lot of people left. The market cap on Near is high, the inflation is high, the circulating supply is high, whatever, right? You can justify this in a bunch of different ways, but I will still always take this trade regardless. It's just, you have to realize this is the type of environment that we're in. Same thing with Render. Similar to Solana, it looks better than most alts, but it certainly doesn't look as good as it did at 11, at 12, at least to me. This could still probably do fine. It's just a lot muddier here, a lot less clear on where exactly this is going. It's more neutral than anything. And then again, we have stuff like ENA. We had some guy with what, like 20 million plus unstake and sell everything at a multi-million-dollar loss. It's like, okay, well, you know, that's going to destroy any TA that it was set up on this over a month. This chart looked phenomenal. I'm still in this trade. I took this trade. It just is what it is. You know, it just fell way too quickly. But your stop loss on any inverted head and shoulders should always be the right shoulder. So this may come back, this may bounce around, this may recover, this may eventually hit the target, but it's a clear warning sign just across the board. Sizes on alts should be down. Leverage on alts should be down. The free money, easy ride alt season is not here. We have more people who are afraid of the downside than excited for continuation and willing to hold through anything. So it's just not the time broadly for alts. A few other charts here. Link still has this head and shoulders risk. Even if you're bullish BTC, you have to root for this stuff because eventually this should break out. This should fail as a head and shoulders. If Bitcoin breaks out, this should fail. It's just, I can't trade this to the long side seeing this setup, right? I just can't. I'm allergic to it. It needs to fail first. It needs some time. But that's still there on Link. That's still there on RUNE. It's range bound, trendless, ready to just give all of the gains from Q4 2023 back if this starts to break down. It's just not the time to trade that. And then on the inverse of that, you have stuff like XMR, which still looks pretty good, looks okay. It's traded almost nowhere. You know, it's kind of, in the US, it's basically Kraken or bust. It did have a low time frame Adam and Eve here. Doesn't look amazing. I don't know where this goes from here, but it's survived that $100 level and has pulled up quite nicely. Is this going to outperform a meme coin or a major this cycle? Doubtful, very doubtful. But in a sort of uncorrelated way, it is doing better than most alts right now, pretty handedly. Here's the daily cloud. It almost looks like someone's just T-wapping into this, buying this slowly every day. Pretty consistent bid on Kraken at least. So it looks great on the daily cloud. TIA also trying to set back up for a bullish reversal. I had this Adam and Eve, that failed. Okay, great. Now what's next? Maybe an inverted head and shoulders within the next couple weeks into July or something. So it looks better than most alts, but it is kind of a do or die situation at these local lows here for TIA. A few other requests from people. SAGA in a consistent bearish downward channel below the 4-hour cloud, whatever. This just isn't for me. I say this all the time, but I like stuff that's going up. So this is not something since listing that has really ever been able to hold on to any sort of highs and stay there. PAAL, P-A-A-L, also bearish on the daily cloud, has been bearish since April. And just another reminder, whatever your trend signals may be, if they're back tested and work, then you should listen to them, right? This is was telling me in April, that's it. Bearish TK cross price below cloud. If you're holding this from any lower, the trend shifted bearish. So it's been unable to get back above the cloud ever since then. I think a lot of people see something like this or something like AKT, right? They see, where's the chart? I guess I don't have a zoomed in chart of AKT, but they see stuff like that and it looks like a buy because it's a giant sale, right? That's a fair point. But for me, over the years, I've found it's better to buy things that have a bullish bias or have a bullish breakout pending than just hoping this stuff catches a bid. This is AKT. Similar to INJ, it has done quite well since 2023. A series of markups, flag, cup and handle. Up here, this looks tragic. This looks horrible. You're getting a bearish Kumo twist, bearish TK cross, price below cloud for a while now. Very ugly looking candles. M for murder. You want W for win. Okay, W for win is where it's at. W for win, inverted head and shoulders, Wyckoff accumulation, whatever. So up here, you were looking for bullish continuation, bullish reversal pattern, and that just is not the case. This is very much not something I would touch. Let it get angry and have its temper tantrum and retrace and, let somebody else catch the knife, okay? You show up when that person is long gone to pick the knife up off the ground where it's safe, okay? Leave this thing alone. Not investment advice, but it's just not the chart. And I couldn't help but think of McDonald's when I pulled up the AKT chart because McDonald's has been in this bullish trend channel for years and years and years and years. This is the first time since COVID that it's broken below the weekly cloud. Also has an M double top. So you could say, well, this is on sale. It's retraced a bunch. Consumers are rejecting pricing of meals, whatever, right? You can rationalize this however you want, but from a technical perspective, I would much rather wait for this thing to recover back above the cloud than to think about caring about it here. And just for fun, a world first AKT relative to McDonald's, and it still favors McDonald's with AKT showing a M double top up here. So there are still multiple reasons and signs that are revealing themselves to me that it's not broadly the time to spray and pray on alts. Be very selective, bring the sizes down. That's what I'm doing, right? I don't care what anybody else does, but I'm just saying it's just not the time. Be slow to hire, quick to fire on your stop losses. And if you've got a winner, I think you got to give it some time. But that's all I got for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.